Hey guys, Brian Stevens here with the National Real Estate Post and Mortgage Shots. Mortgage Shots at the National Real Estate Post. All you have to do to see our stuff on a regular basis is go to mortgageshots.com. Just mortgageshots.com and you'll find everything you want to find there. We do our daily video for you. It's free of charge. We're going to try to give you a little sales nourishment, let you know what's going on in the mortgage and real estate industry, and if we can, put a smile on your face in the process. That's the idea behind it all. So check it out at mortgageshots.com. And of course, if you like our show, then like what we're bringing to you. It always helps us if you share. So share and share alike, right? It's the season. Spring is right around the corner. Hey, listen, we got a whole bunch of stuff to go over, not the least of which is what I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks here, is that I think that spring is upon us. I showed you a graph on my last live that I did and on my show at mortgageshots.com that just a few weeks ago, Fannie Mae had put out their projections for 2024 and 2025. It's comprehensive. And again, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae as a singular company would be the largest company in the history of the world anywhere. And that's the truth. And it's by far. They're holding trillions of dollars. They've got the ear of House Financial Services Committee, the Senate Banking Committee, of HUD, of you name it, of the Federal Reserve. And if anybody could afford and influence the direction mortgage interest rates are going to go in the future, you got to believe Fannie Mae might be right. And what they were talking about is rates coming down this year shortly into the sixes, low sixes, and come next year actually dropping down into the fives. So my question to you is this the beginning of the change? But the bigger question that I have for you is, does it really matter to you? You know, after all, one of the things that I always talk about over here at Mortgage Shots is, as a loan officer or realtor, you have to understand that you are the action. You're not the outcome, but you are the action. Now, what that means is, as the great Stoics would say, is you got to treat your success, you got to treat your failures, you got to treat your victories and your defeats exactly the same way. I don't get it. Well, the idea is that there's nothing to celebrate it when you win, but there's nothing to loathe about when you lose. We have to control the one thing we can, which is ourselves. So yes, rates are going down and it's going to change our market for the better. But what it means is, if anything, if you're going to do it, is we've got to up our activity and our actions. And I got to tell you, if you hear anybody else that says, you can go ahead and be a lazy PLS and follow what I'm instructing you to do for $2,500 to $3,500 a month, and your business is going to look great. It's a bunch of bullshit. The reason is this. If somebody is telling you that you can get a result that doesn't make sense for the energy and activity that you need to put into it, they're lying to you. And right now what you find on social media sites more than anywhere is, frankly, coaching abound, right? You can't swing a dead cat around without hitting 15 new mortgage coaches out there. Point is this. Hard work is going to matter. So I want to go through a couple of things with you, and let's start right now. Okay, pretty straightforward, guys. If the market has permanently changed, you have to understand that there are no shortcuts to what you're doing. We cannot be lazy about things. We have to have incredible attention to detail with our business. Understand what you're doing, why you're doing, how you're doing it to the best of your capability. And also understand that that's a discipline too. It's a discipline to understand how to track what you're doing. It's a discipline to follow it. It's a discipline that I'm not good at, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't be trying at it. So I love this picture. I love this image over here because it really encapsulates what we can be and what we actually are oftentimes with how we approach our origination in our real estate business. Listen, build it the right way, you'll get to the top, you'll get where you need to be. As I said before, Mortgage Shots is our site. Go to mortgageshots.com and you'll find our great partners, our great contributors, our videos that we've done. Check us out and participate. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here is our home equity lines of credit. Okay, now home equity lines of credit, HELOCs, nobody likes to do it. Let's just get through that right now. As a loan officer, nobody likes it. There's no money in these things. Okay, and I just told you that the market's about to get a little better, so of course you're going to want to kind of go towards greener pastures, which is working on that purchase business where you can really kind of make a big difference and make up for kind of the lost time of the past couple of months. However, you have to remember here, guys, as a loan officer, your job is also to do a good job by your clients. First and foremost, I was talking to somebody and they mentioned Dave Savage. And they said, Dave Savage said, something to the effect of, how many clients' lives are you affecting? And I thought, that could be taken a million different ways, but there's a lot of truth in that. The truth is that we've kind of lost sight of that. We've lost sight of the fact that we're affecting people's lives. And if we could be a little bit more empathetic with our clients and remember that we are impacting people's lives and we are trying to impact their lives for the better, what that does is it makes us more grateful for where we're at and the opportunities that we have in front of us. And graciousness and gratitude is always a better place to be than entitlement. But here's the whole thing. You're not fulfilling your obligation to your clients, right? You're not. Because if they need access to that, well, you should be the person who's providing it to them, because we need to be grateful for the opportunities we have with our clients. That's why talking to your clients, actually seeing your clients, getting them on a Zoom, doing this type of stuff really helps us kind of bridge that gap. And I'll tell you right now, from a tactical standpoint, when you have a more empathetic view towards your clients, that stuff like oozes out of your pores and it goes through your computer and jumps into the ether and it goes into the heads and the hearts of your clients, and people understand that shit. They do. You know when you're talking to a scoundrel, and you know when you're talking to somebody who's got true intentions, who really wants to help you out. So I'm just saying, when it comes to HELOCs right now, don't put yourself first and say, I don't want to do them because there's not enough money on these things. You're in service of your clients and it's going to help them out. However, what also can't be lost in the process of this is the simple fact that HELOCs are going through the roof right now. Folks want to tap into their equity, okay? HELOCs, home equity loans, they increased by 50% in 2022. That's 2 years earlier, and this is according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. And when we look at the activity of fixed rate second mortgages here, they've actually kind of gone through the roof. So just remember here, guys, there's an opportunity with HELOCs, and you get to fulfill your obligation and your duty to your clients, and there's nothing better than to do that, not only for personal reasons that put you in a better headspace, but tactically it's better for your business. And listen, I'd rather have $500 than not have $500. Now, let's just look at this for a second here. Okay, we have our cash out refinances, which is the dark green line. And I get it, they went off a cliff, and that happened right around somewhere in 2022. Now, we look at our non-cash out refinances, and you see that's a lighter green. You see that big old spike right over there? Well, that big old spike is, when rates were in the 2s and the 3s, when the Fed came in and artificially lowered rates to a point that they're regretting right now, because the unintended consequences of that action is creating pain beyond belief in the mortgage and real estate space. But hey, we don't care over here. It's okay, and we made a bunch of money in the process. But you see what happened is, of course, cash out refinances. We had this huge jump, and then they fell off a cliff. And this just so happened to coincide, by the way, looking at rates on the 30-year fixed, which is the blue dotted line, it coincided at exactly the same moment as we saw a peak with our non-cash out rate and term refinances, didn't we? So you see our cash out, we were jumping in on the equity over here with our green, our dark green, our rate and term refinances through the roof. If you have a Corvette in your driveway or a boat in a dock somewhere, thank the Federal Reserve for that little mistake. But you notice here the blue line down here, you see these? They're inverse to each other, aren't they? This one dropped off a cliff, and this one, my friends, went through the roof. Now, what we're seeing over here is we're seeing rates starting to drop down. The question that we have is this going to be long-term? Well, it's probably going to be long-term if you are to believe the prognosticators, the economists, and the influencers that they have over at the government-sponsored enterprises. And the last time I checked, they can afford better ones than I've got, and they've also got the influence that nobody I know has. So again, all I'm doing is relying on what Fannie Mae is saying, and Fannie Mae is saying that rates are going to come down. The question is this going to be long-term or short-term? Here's where we're looking at positive activity here. Rate lock volume rose 5% from January to February due to a notable increase of 8.3% in purchase activity. This, of course, is happening because we're getting more inventory. It's just that simple. I know, and I don't think I have the graph in here, but I know that we're like 7.5% year over from where we were last year. I've got some great information I'm going to share with you today to show you the direction we're going and why I'm so bullish on the whole idea of spring being really good for us. The whole idea here is, guys, you got to get your shit together. Like what you do right now, frankly, you're already behind the 8 ball. Those who aren't even considering this and are going to the doldrums of work every day, showing up and not being engaged and having purpose-driven days, are the ones who are going to fall behind. And as I've said before, there's a handful of loan officers out there who are looking at this market right now. They're sharpening their teeth, they're pinning their ears back, and they are salivating because they can't wait. Those who get out of the blocks early are going to be the one who are going to take a substantial, a noticeable, and a decisive lead on their competition. It's not necessarily going to be the big producers of yesterday. A lot of those guys, frankly, have fallen apart because they didn't know how to deal with this market. And the market that we're walking out of was your Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie conforming type of qualified mortgage bullshit. That was easy. It was basically like taking tickets at a deli and making pastrami sandwiches. We are coming out of a ham sandwich market, and we are going into a 9-course delicatessen market right before our eyes. So those who are great at taking tickets and making ham sandwiches, loan officers with your Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, meat and potato type of loans, aren't necessarily the ones who are going to understand the market we're going into. You could be that person. You could be the one who's early out of the gates, but you have to understand. And again, I want to digress here for a moment and remember this. Go to Oaktree. My folks over at Oaktree right now, what they will do is they will train you up on all the products that you're not fluent in that language. Of course, I'm talking about non-QM. You have to have all the arrows in your quiver right now as a loan officer for your realtors. You have to speak the language of non-QM and all the product availability to you, and you have to understand how to sell it to your realtor partners and to clients. And of course, when you look at companies like Oaktree, they're going to be the ones who are going to give you the easiest opportunities, particularly on the brokering end or the non-deal end, whatever it is for you. But they're going to be the ones who are going to make these HELOCs the easiest for you. You want to go talk to them. Check this out. Oaktree has a 90% investment loan. Okay, it's an 80-10-10 on that thing, and I believe that you can either go full doc or all doc, which is going to be bank statements, and there's no change to your pricing on it. So when we look at HELOCs, guys, it's not just the fact that they're up 50% right now. It's the fact that we can now actually, in some capacity, with our industry, with the market changing, we can go ahead and double those together and offer products that our competition simply doesn't know about. So, call my friends over at Oaktree. What they'll do is they'll put an account rep and they'll sit you down one-on-one, team-on-one, whatever you want, and they will make you fluent in the language of love. The love of money, that is. So anyways, let's jump back over here. The rise in purchase activity outpaced the decrease in refinance activity, which fell by 22.5%. By the way, that refinance activity that fell by 22.5%, that's a lagging indicator. We are going to see refinance activity, as we are right now, start to pick up in a huge way, because those folks who aren't getting HELOCs oftentimes are doing cash out refinances. And the other opportunity on the table, loan officers, think about this, is talk to your clients about investment property opportunities. Listen, with a softer market, which is what we're going into, with concessions now being made on a full 25% of all properties, did you know that? 25% of all properties that end up selling right now have concessions in the form of dropping the sales price, or concession in the form of credits coming to them, which is massive for our investors. So if you are buying into a lower rate environment, a softer real estate market, which will only exist for a wisp of time, because once the market figures this out, the demand for those houses are going to go up and the window is lost. But it's right in front of us right now. But anyways, think about those opportunities as well. And how a lot of these folks are going to get that money is going to be through HELOCs, and it's going to be through cash out refinances. So when I see this 22.5% down, yeah, grain of salt, guys, that's going to increase. And here's the one that cracked me up. And let's see, rate in term refinances, and a 3.1% drop in cash out refinances. I want to know who the hell's still doing a cash out refinance. I wonder if these are our EPOs, our early payoffs from people who got them a couple of, 6 months ago, or are these people who held on to 8s for the past 7-8 years? And the truth of the matter is, that happens. Overall, 86% of originations in February consisted of the purchase mortgage market, with refinances only counting for 14%. Again, that 14% is going to be going up, which means our 86% is going to be going down. Don't sleep on refinances. Don't sleep on HELOCs for all the above mentioned reasons. Purchase locks count, which control for changing home prices, rose by 7%. Again, that's a great canary in the coal mine for loan officers and realtors. When we get more locks, more activity is taking place, and we can start to see the engine, which has been started right now, is beginning to warm up, and we're going to start jamming down the track. On a year-over basis, purchase lock activity declined by 7%, marking the smallest such decrease since the Federal Reserve began hiking interest rates back in March of 2022. That was a tongue twister for me. Again, guys, all of this indicates that what Fannie Mae was saying is absolutely true, that we're going to see more activity, that rates are going to come down, and opportunity is in front of us. Now, one more thing, and I just put this in here just for your entertainment. Why would you want to do a HELOC? Well, you might want to do a HELOC for tax deduction purposes. Have you ever thought of that? Have you actually ever talked to your clients about that? The interest rate may be lower than the alternatives. That's a good one. And what it does is it gives you access to large sums of money. And everybody loves that. Stacks and racks, because we are in this country more than anything. We are consumers, aren't we? We like to buy stuff. And I'll tell you, with spring right around the corner, I don't know, a new convertible Maserati in my driveway sure sounds like a pretty good idea. I wonder if it's going to work that way for you. It doesn't really matter if it's going to work that way for you or not. What we do know is it's going to work that way for your clients. Should we do a cash out refinance, or should we do a home equity line of purchase? Determining the right choices. Cash out refinances replaces your current mortgage with a new loan of a higher balance, and you receive the difference as a lump sum. Yay! Home equity lines involve keeping your current mortgage and taking out a second loan with interest rates typically higher than those of our cash-out refinances. And of course, lenders limit the amount of equity that you can access with a cash-out refinance or a home equity line of credit. Interest rates vary by lender, so you might want to shop around, people. Your credit score and your debt-to-income ratio will be affected by your interest rate. And finally, and this is Risk Media, shop around, and get offers from several lenders. Compare the interest rates and fees to figure out which is the best deal for you. Does that seem wildly rudimentary to you? Because it does me. It sounds kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of obvious. The reason I shared it with you is this. That's what your clients are looking at. That's what your clients' understandings are between a cash-out refinance and a home equity line of credit. That's what they know. In short, they're in the dark. You see, what we do as salespeople is we often make assumptions. We make assumptions about what people know and what they don't know. We are all guilty of this. I am guilty of this, okay? I've done presentations. I did presentations for Listing Boosters, which is kind of like your list reports thing. I did presentations on Listing Booster for probably 7 years. And I got so familiar with the product and all the strategies that I developed with it. And I knew my strategies because I developed them in order to, how to generate leads, how to create opportunities and value for your realtors, all of that stuff. And absolutely killed it with it, just killed it. But I got to the point on my presentations where I was in cruise control. I could literally be half asleep with a half a bottle of Jameson Irish whiskey in me, and I could do the whole presentation. I mean, I knew it forwards and backwards. And the problem is when you get to that point with your knowledge set, we start to make assumptions that other people know what's going on. And we might as well be speaking Greek to these folks. What's written down might as well be Sanskrit to them. They have no idea. So what I just showed you is what they're getting. Well, there is a difference between our HELOCs and our cash-out refinances. You might find a difference in rate. You might find a difference in the amount of money you can take out. You can take out, you get it all here, you get some of it here. Now remember to shop around, and I'm glad I could help. That's what they're getting. So don't make assumptions when you're talking to your clients. Again, I'm going to keep getting back to this whole idea of empathy. When you're speaking with your clients, I want you to put yourself in between their ears, in their head. Not only think, what are they thinking? I want you to think, what the F are they feeling? You see, right now, there's a lot of insecurity because there's a lot of unknown. And that unknown means there's a lot of questions. And the question is do your clients have the oomph or the wherewithal or the courage even to call you up and ask some of these hard questions? Or are they doing what most everybody does, and that's sit in the wings and wait? Well, the truth is they're sitting in the wings and waiting. So if we have additional questions that need to be answered about what your chosen profession is, where you can affect change in a positive way, well, you have to understand, one, it's not only your duty to yourself and your family to go close those deals because that's where you're going to earn your income and earn your keep and provide for your family, but you owe it to them too because chances are they're uncomfortable calling you. And most importantly, you have to put yourself in their shoes where they feel. What am I saying? It's the age-old adage, guys. Call your clients and find out which one. This is the shit that they're looking at. And when they're looking at that, your competition is taking note. And I guarantee you, there is somebody who's in a sweatshop puppy mill call center right now who's answering these dumb questions, and they're answering them to your clients, and they're going to get that business because we're not making those calls. That's precisely the reason why I put that in there, and I hope it makes sense to you. Have you heard of this one? Shrinkflation is coming for your home. I love these terms of this shit people make up. We come up with these crazy terms, and and they last for a moment, and we come up with these crazy ideas about the market, and everybody runs at them like a group of silverfish in the middle of the ocean where we all turn in the same direction at the same time. Fortune magazine's report that builders had no choice but to build smaller homes because of how unaffordable housing has become. That's really this active response by the builder to address the affordability concerns head on. And one of the main kind of levers that they're pulling is reducing home square footage. We're actually going back in size on our houses, which is a trip. We're actually getting smaller houses, which makes perfect sense to me, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. We're building smaller houses. Now, I've always been told, and I've always been of the opinion, the builders are going to say, okay, how big is my lot? I'm going to build the biggest lot of the biggest building that I can put on this lot, and this is what they did. It's where your neighbor, you're in your bathroom on your second story, and your neighbor's in the bathroom on their second story. And you could basically, cheers a beer through the window if you wanted to, or a cup of coffee because it's 6 feet away from you. Well, that's because square footage was a way to maximize their profitability. So people wanted these giant houses on these zero lot line places, the McMansions, all that gratuitous consumption that we collectively craved for so many years. Well, our trends are going in the opposite direction right now. And what's interesting is builders are finding that, because of the cost of construction, that it's actually better for them to build smaller houses and larger houses. And of course, That's the trend. You know how we run at everything? The silver tsunami that's coming with boomers all dying and getting all that inventory, or all these crazy terms that we run at. That's the trend. And the trend is right now, people crave yards again. People don't put a premium on square footage. And it just so happens that with builders, it's cheaper for them to do it. So we're starting to get some of these smaller, smarter houses. And I think that trend is going to continue. Again, this all spells a good spring. These are good numbers. And if you've been watching my show at mortgageshots.com or the nationalrealestatepost.com for any length of time, you might have said over the past year, like, this guy's a downer every day. Well, it's because like all the information was kind of and I was willing to say it was but when things are good, we got to talk about it. And this trend is going to be, it's going to be helpful to the real estate market and your ability to close more loans. The McMansion isn't dead yet, but homes are shrinking. Last year, the median new size home fell to its lowest point in more than a decade. Census data shows that. Now, the median single-family home size dropped roughly 4% between 2022 and 2023. It hasn't been that small since 2010. These houses are still massive. They're just absolutely massive. And I gotta tell you, is big always better? How did that Humvee fare? Remember that car? Remember when the Humvees came out and everybody had to buy these giant gargantuan monstrosities, and they were popular about as long as the PT Cruiser or the Pinto was? Big isn't always better, and I've got proof of that. Big isn't better. I want you to think about when you go to any restaurant right now, are the bigger servings necessary? When you go out to breakfast at Nations, do you really need 14 pounds of hash browns? I do, because I'll eat the damn things. Look at our beaches between from 1960 to 1923. Where were people better off? 1960 or 1923? Guys, listen, I can shed some pounds over here too. I ain't making fun of nobody. But I'm just saying, you know it's true. And sometimes the truth hurts. And of course, the average house size. The average house size was 983 square feet back in 1950. That's because we were half the size and we didn't have all the shit we don't need now to go ahead and store it somewhere. And the average house size in 2014 was 2,675 square feet. You could literally fit the houses of the 1950s or the 1970s inside the house of 2014, inside the house of 2022. You could fit the house inside. Hell, I think you could almost fit them both in, couldn't you? That would put us at about 2,800 square feet, or 20. You could almost fit both of them, a house from 1970 and a 1950, into a 2014 house. And I got to tell you, when you look at houses that are popular right now, these first-time homebuyer houses that are smaller, that are more affordable, that really kind of are going to appeal to the smarter Gen Z folks out there who is the next generation of homebuyers. When you think about that, what does Gen Z want? Gen Z doesn't need all the shit that my generation needed. Gen Z is looking to downsize. You give them their computer, you give them a pretty decent Wi-Fi, and you can even keep the damn TV and the entertainment center and everything else and your record collection. So we're building houses for the next generation that kind of makes sense. And I got to tell you, as a loan officer and a real estate agent, the average age is pushing 60, right? As a 60-year-old or a 50-year-old loan officer or real estate agent, we need to stay relevant, don't we? If you want to follow the money and the opportunity, it's going to be with our Gen X or our Gen Ys and our Gen Zs, these younger kids who are coming up. We have to understand what they're looking for, and it's interesting to see that builders have transitioned in that direction. And again, this is good. Frankly, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see houses get even smaller as we go forward. Okay, moving on. Here's the graphs I wanted to share with you. New private-owned housing unit starts. What does the future hold for us, and how can we go ahead and project? Everything you have to understand, everything is about inventory. Rates could go down to 1%. If we don't have the inventory, all we're going to do is bid the prices up to what we can afford in terms of that payment. If rates went down to 1%, the only thing that would happen is we'd have no inventory, but a $500,000 house would be a $1.5 million house. Because the only thing that matters there is the payment, not the rate. The rate doesn't matter. It's always been the payment. So if we want to really control what our housing cost is going to be, we have to really think simplicity of supply and demand. We need to have the supply that matches the demand. So right now we're here, we've got our demand and we have our supply. So we have to increase our supply, which will then create lower sales prices, or we have to lower our demand. Lowering our demand, by the way, is how the Fed is trying to deal with inflation. We're not trying to create opportunities for more people to buy stuff, which is increasing the supply. What they're doing is they're raising the cost on everything to bring our demand down to get prices back to where they need to be. It's kind of a chemotherapy approach to fixing the economy. we're going to kill the bad cells and we're going to kill the good cells and we're going to kill everything in the process. As long as we're killing, it's going to help inflation. So what we can either do is lower our demand by raising interest rates, which is what we've done right now, okay? Or we can increase the supply and create opportunity, and then that's going to bring prices down, which of course is going to piss everybody off who owns a house right now, because you're going to see some of your equity disappear if prices actually do in fact drop. But you got more equity than you thought you were ever going to get, and frankly, bringing prices down to an affordable level to where more folks can actually own homes benefits everybody in the long run. So even if your equity drops, we need to STFU, because the truth is you got more equity over the past couple of years than you thought you were ever going to get. So again, these are all great moves, and this spells that maybe our spring and what's taking place today on March 14th or March 11th or whatever the hell it is today is the beginning of a change to our market. Again, activity, guys. We got to keep our activity up. Okay, so this is our housing starts over here. You'll notice that right now, I would say stink eye in this thing, we're pegging about average. Now, I'm going back to basically 2015, which is going to be where things really kind of started to change for our business. 2015 is where everything, all the ruffled feathers that we had back from the 2008, 9, and 10 meltdown started to kind of change. So if we go back over a pretty decent sample size, you'd have to stink eye this thing and say, yeah, builders seem to be doing their part right now. And of course, this big drop that we saw right over here in the middle, this is when we all got to go lay down at our houses and we couldn't leave during the pandemic. You remember that? The pandemic, don't you? Okay, so housing starts, we get the idea there. We're doing pretty good. We're not pegging great. We'd like to see more, but it's better than where we've been, hasn't it? So now permits issued to build houses. Again, we seem to be pegging pretty good here. You'll notice here after the pandemic, these permits turn into homes. These permits are going to, down the road, when it comes to houses that are completions, are going to be opportunity. That will be an increase in our inventory, and that increase in inventory is opportunity for loan officers and real estate agents out there. By the way, realtors, loan officers, I would be going to my new home builders right now and see if there's opportunity with them. They're going to start to pick up their pace. And I got to tell you, if you don't go talk to new home builders, then I guess you won't know, will you? But if you spend an hour of your day, 2 hours of your day running them down, who knows? You might just accidentally hook into a marlin, and everybody wants to catch a marlin. Okay, single family starts. Check out our single family starts. These numbers look good as well. Again, we have our 2020 pandemic, the same drop that we saw in everything. We see the same bounce back over here. And if we check it out, I mean, we've done relatively decently. We're above the Mason-Dixon line for most of this stuff when it comes to our starts. New privately owned housing units that are under construction right now. Here's where we're at. Again, our numbers over the same period of time, I dropped all these back to right around 2015. We look pretty good. What I want to tell you guys here is, again, our market, we're going to get through this thing. So we still are going to wash out. There's still going to be bank failures. There's going to be bank consolidations that are taking place. The commercial real estate space is absolutely in shambles right now. That is going to affect a lot of our folks. We're starting to look at possibly having more enforcement actions in our industry. That's going to just, it's going to upset the apple cart a little bit. But right now, guys, things are looking pretty damn good. Okay, so moving on here, and I'm almost done. The CFPB is seeking OMB approval for new consumer complaint survey. All right, what are they looking for? Listen, if you're on social media or you follow any of this stuff, you can see where the disapproval is at inside our industry and outside of our industry. What I want you to know is that our regulatory and enforcement oversight groups out there, like the DOJ, like HUD, like the CFPB, like the OCC, like the FDIC, they're looking closely at what's going on in our industry. And frankly, they're not thrilled with a whole bunch of it. Enforcement actions are going to be on the way. So listen, guys, as you start to increase your business, I put this in here because I want you to know that we need to make sure that we're writing clean loans. One of the issues that the CFPB is talking about right now, and they've been at this for a while. I'll tell you what, why isn't AIM and why isn't NAM and why isn't the NBA, why are they talking about junk fees? By the way, there's always an all-out assault. It used to be over on the appraisers when we wanted to do away with appraisers. Let's just turn them all into bigots and human beings. That's what our industry did. I don't know if you followed that, but when we really started trying to have that great push towards automating all of our appraisals, when appraisers were they brought their biases to the table, they couldn't do anything right. They all became bigots overnight. There were lawsuits everywhere, and it just absolutely saturated the news cycle in the real estate and mortgage space for a moment in time. Again, we all run at these things for moments. And then all of a sudden it disappeared. Did you kind of notice that appraisers quit being bigots when they realized that some of the automated algorithms that they're using on these appraisals weren't working well? Right, Zillow? How did that work out for you? You lost 80% of your cap. You lost 80% of your cap because you believed in your algorithm too much. Well, the same thing happened over with our GSEs. The same thing happened with all the push from all of our government agencies. It wasn't working as well as they wanted, and all of a sudden, all that noise about our bigoted appraisers just seemed to wildly disappear. Well, right now, the latest and greatest trend, the latest Beanie Baby, the latest, pet rock, tickle me Elmo, whatever the hell you want to call it, is junk fees. Everyone's got to do away with junk fees. Now, I got to tell you, I looked at loans for the first time in a long time, and I can't believe the cost on loans when it comes to junk fees. But a lot of it has to do with the changes that we've made in terms of regulation. The cost to our lenders have gone up significantly, so the cost of those junk fees are going to go up significantly. Now, to the CFPB's point, here's why it's stupid. Lenders need to be profitable. Lenders have actually been working in an area that costs them to write loans. If you have to have a lender write a check to close a loan, that's kind of like McDonald's writing a check to make you a Big Mac. They're going to have to raise the price of the Big Mac, or they're going to have to raise the price of the French fries, or the apple pie, or the nuggets, or the McThis, or the McThat. They're going to have to raise the price of something to get back to a point of profitability. So when the public sector, these lifelong bureaucrats who know nothing about running companies whatsoever decide that they want to go out there and get junk fees, or get rid of junk fees, the private sector, who has to be profitable, unlike the government agencies, is going to find a way to do it. When the cost of oversight goes up, so do the junk fees, coincidentally, right? So, yes, I get the idea. We want to get rid of junk fees. Boy, it sounds great. But the truth of the matter is, you can already do, well, in better times, you might be able to right now, but you can do a junk fee-free, for the most part, you can do a junk fee-free loan when it comes to refinances. We did them all the time. We'd cover a whole bunch of stuff on our VA loans. You can do it, but you're going to pay for it somehow, and how you're going to pay for it is in the form of a higher interest rates. So yes, the CFPB wants to get rid of junk fees right now. That sounds great. Well, just tack 0.5% onto your rate across the board in perpetuity, because that is going to be the unintended consequence, a term that we are also familiar with in the mortgage and real estate space. That is going to be the unintended consequence of such a fee. Such fees, experts say, by the way, this is from the Urban Institute. I mean, if you want to find a think tank that doesn't think, I think it's the Urban Institute. Such fees, experts say, are particularly egregious, even compared to the myriad of other junk fees that bring big financial institutions billions of profits every year. Non-sufficient fund fees, that would be for our banks, and penalty charges when a transaction is rejected, like when a debit card purchase is declined because there's not enough money in the account to cover it. The penalty is $32 on average, similar to the average of an overdraft fee. Guys, and listen, accountability here. Here's my question. If you lend your money out to somebody and then they steal and take more from you than you lent to them, do you think you should be compensated for that? Really, it's ownership. The idea of ownership is yeah, you should own that. I get it, the fees are high, but you're the one who got the card. You're the one who overdrafted. Ownership of where we're at. And my point is take ownership of your business right now. We just went through a bunch of great stuff that could help yourself. I'm telling you, it's happening today. You've got 2 more days during this week. You've got your weekend in front of you. Put your game plan together. Here's what I want you to do. Seriously, sit down with a piece of paper and I want you to free write. Just free write. Wireframe some things. Now, I don't want you to necessarily put your objectives there. I want you to put up there what your dreams are for your business. What are your dreams? Objectives are too easy and they're too sterile. Oh, my objectives are I want to close more deals. Well, no shit, you want to close more deals. But let's talk about it in a little bit more detail. Okay, we want to close more deals. I get it. We want to make more money. I get it. What do you want to do with your business? I want to work with people I like. I don't know. I want to have more free time. Maybe. I want to be happier with what I'm doing for a living. All these things, whatever it is that you want. And then pencil out how you get there in a market going in the right direction. All right, don't work with people you don't like. That's an easy one. But if you don't work with people you don't like, you got to replace them with people you do like, right? How do we do that? Oh, okay, so we got to back ourselves out from there. I better offer something that my competition simply isn't doing. Okay, then what are real estate agents asking for? Let's see. Do they want deals? Do they want lower rates? They want better communication. They want technology. What do they want? How about this? Try this one on for size. As a loan officer, go call 10 real estate agents and ask them, say, hey, listen, just be completely candid. I'm trying to fix my business. I want to kick ass. Things are about to change. I know it. I've got some plans in place. Here's what they are. But what I'm failing to recognize, because I have not looked at it up until this point in my career, is what you want and you need. Now, you as a loan officer, you might be out there going, well, these real estate agents don't pick up their calls. And they don't. You guys are terrible at that. These real estate agents are quick to complain about things. The real estate agent, I get it. I get it. But that does you no good. Zero. What you need to do is put yourself in their head. Be empathetic. Find out where they're coming from. Find out what motivates them. Find out what inspires them. And the first way to do that, this is so easy, is ask them and shut up. Ask them and listen, and then ask them and prompt them. What are you looking for in your business what are you looking for with a loan officer? I want to know because I want to improve my business. When you ask that, what you're saying to them is, I value you. I value what you have to offer. That right there is bedrock stuff when it comes to developing a meaningful relationship. It is. And yet we fail to do this all the time. Ask them that. It says, I value what you have to say. And then listen. And if you get answers, well, I want what everybody else wants. I want my lender to do their job. Then what you have to do is prompt. Okay, so when we talk about doing their job, what does that mean? There's a lot of things. Here my perspective is that could be rates, communication. I hear realtors saying right now that their lenders don't pick up their phone and it pisses them off. I mean, but when you say that, what are the specific things? What are the last couple of things that bothered you on a follower that you heard about? I'd like to know because I want to overcome those. But more importantly, I want to work in a manner that is going to really make me work in a team capacity with the agents who are giving me the opportunity to work with their business. Could we get into some details on that? Prompt them and then shut up. Prompt them and shut up. Go find yourself 5 realtors over this week. Before Monday, go find 5 realtors and then do it with 5 realtors next week and then do it with 5 realtors next week and then do it with 5 more the next week. That's 20 real estate agents where you just ask them questions. Don't ask for their business. Don't tell them why you're great. Don't tell them how great your rates are. None of that stuff. Just listen. Shut up and listen. And just do that. You'll walk away with more of a real estate agent than if you talk about how bitching you are. If I told you how awesome I am, you'd hang up right now. But what I want to do is I want to hear what you guys have to say. And that's how I want to close this. What do you want to hear? How can I help you? How can we be in service over to you? I've always been an advocate for loan officers and real estate agents, not their companies, advocate for loan officers and real estate agents, and I've been doing this for 20 years now. Strangely enough, I have been at this in this capacity for nearly 20 years now, longer than anybody who's occupied this space. And I'm talking, of course, about video blogging and using this form of technology. I've traveled the country. I've spoken with realtors and lenders. I've listened to them on a daily basis. I've tried to adopt this in terms of what I'm doing. So I'm asking you, what is it that you're looking for? If you made it to the end of this diatribe, then I'm sure you've got some thoughts. And do me a favor, put the comments down below, and I promise that we will answer those or reach out to you. With that said, my friends, y'all make it a great day. I'm going to be like jelly, my friends, and I am gonna jam.